It's school days for the men who maintain our fastest jet bomber, the B-47 Stratojet. At Amarillo Air Force Base in Texas, scenes like this are repeated 3 times daily. These men are students marching to attend classes in the B-47 specialized courses. These students are becoming experts in the servicing of a bomber that will fly faster than 600 miles an hour. They learn about the J-47 engine, which provides the power for this phenomenal performance. In this practical kind of classroom teaching, cutaway models are ideal, for they allow the students to see for themselves. Student mechanics learn how to mount and trigger the drag parachute. The chute comes out to slow the bomber's landing speed. Because of its thin wings, the B-47's main landing gear is mounted in the fuselage. The students watch how it retracts into the plane, then swings down into landing position. When a new student is taken on his first indoctrination tour of the B-47, he is invariably struck by the beauty of the big plane. Its clean lines and sweeping curves forecast its speed, and beneath the handsome lines are the power and performance to make the prediction come true. The nerve center of a modern jet is the electrical system. This student is working on the circuit which controls the landing gear. With its immense power and spectacular performance, the Stratojet gulps large quantities of fuel. Its sliver-thin wings and slim fuselage do not provide a great deal of storage space. So the fuel storage problem was solved by the addition of wing tanks, streamlined to slice through the air with a minimum of resistance. New students watch as one of these tanks is fastened to a wing. By the time the mechanics finish their courses, they are jet specialists, fully equipped to handle any mechanical problem which the Stratojet might develop. Starting the big ship and throttling her to a smooth idle will be a second nature operation. Global Mechanics, training to maintain a global Air Force.
Our story begins on the flat prairies of Kansas, the geographical center of the United States. Here, near Wichita, is McConnell Air Force Base. McConnell is known as one of the toughest schools in the Air Training Command. The students of this school are experts, veteran airmen with thousands of hours flying time. Pilots and observers are assigned here for a special purpose. They will learn to fly the Stratojet bomber. In some small measure, this is their story.
Gentlemen, on behalf of the 35 20th Combat Crew Training Wing, we welcome you to McConnell Air Force Base. Now, you're here for an intensive training period to qualify you as crew members in the B-47 airplane. Now, to acquaint you with some of the history of the Stratojet, we take you back to 1943, to the dark days of World War II. The B-17, the Flying Fortress, was our mainstay. The Superfort, the B-29, was just starting into production. At the request of the Air Force, Boeing Airplane Company engineers in Seattle began studies on the next generation of big bombers. Bombers with something added, the radically new jet engine. These engineering studies, thousands of research hours, exhaustive wind tunnel and power plant tests, led to a six-jet swept-wing airplane. On December 17th, 1947, exactly 44 years from the day the Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk, the first experimental airplane, the XB-47, took to the sky. That flight sparked a revolution. Jet air power was here to stay. Here was a bomber, a big bomber, that flew and handled like a fighter. As for speed, more than 600 miles per hour. By early spring of 1948, the Air Force had decided that it wanted these 47s, lots of them, and in a hurry. This decision led to the reopening of the government B-29 plant here in Wichita, virtually idle since VJ Day. There was a challenge of coordination when hundreds of subcontracting companies from all over the United States joined the Boeing team and began to feed a staggering total of more than 78,000 different items into the B-47 production effort. Then came the challenge of manufacturing problems. To meet the performance formula of higher, farther, faster took the skills of many. It called for closer manufacturing tolerances than even the aircraft industry was accustomed to handling. It was a bomber that had to function perfectly at more than 7 miles above the Earth's surface. All its components had to operate perfectly in temperature extremes from 120 degrees above zero to 65 degrees below. 2 years later, in March of 1950, the dream came to life. The standard production models began to roll off the line. Know-how had solved the problems. Effort and teamwork had overcome the obstacles. 4 years later, 1,000 Stratojets had been built. In 4 short, busy years, we had 1,000 of these excellent reasons for national security. As distance and endurance records for jet aircraft were tumbled by the 47, a continuous program of development kept the Stratojet series out in front. From the current model was developed a speedy photo reconnaissance job designated as the RB-47 and classed as the world's fastest long-range photo plane. We have touched briefly on speed. Speed takes horsepower. The jet engines designed and built by General Electric are rated in pounds of thrust. The 6 jets on this airplane deliver a total of 36,000 pounds of thrust. That, in simple translation, means power. When you put your hand to the throttles of the 47, you have the equivalent of 375 automobiles of 200 horsepower each, right at your fingertips. Still, under some conditions of extreme weight, or when using very short runways, additional power is needed. The answer comes in one neat package, bottle thrust, 1,000 pounds worth. 33 of these bottles installed externally in a droppable rack, provide an additional 33,000 pounds of thrust for those critical takeoff conditions and literally boost the Stratojet into the air. For takeoff, this means that the fully loaded airplane, weighing over 100 tons, and that's a lot of weight, will be airborne and flying in a matter of seconds. To meet the exacting requirements of the Air Force, the flight test program was exhaustive. It is certainly not by chance that this airplane has proven to be the world's fastest and safest operational medium bomber. So, gentlemen, that's the airplane. Now, you'll learn that she flies by teamwork. A combat crew of 3, aircraft commander, pilot, and observer. Now, you pilots may just as well regard the observer as the blue chip passenger. When you're coming in over the target, it's his baby. When your observer calls for a sight-in station, all this vast program, all this effort, is no better than the observer's skill in those few seconds over the target. Now, your instructors here at McConnell are prepared to qualify you as B-47 combat crew teams. Now, it's up to you.
Yes, it was up to us, all right. And they weren't wasting any time. On our team, a pilot named Sam, a young old-timer with thousands of hours aloft. And there was Tom, our observer, with a built-in calculator for a brain. That's desirable equipment for an observer. And there I was, Cliff, aircraft commander. Our instructor, we were convinced, must have been born in a 47 because of his background as a Stratojet pilot. He could appreciate the problems we were about to encounter. Many of our questions were never voiced. We were already zeroed in on the practical answer. At first, it seemed we were involved in an endless mass of systems and procedures. It didn't seem possible that we could fly this baby with only a crew of 3. It wasn't long before we were beginning to sense the need for close teamwork. Lecture followed lecture, and days became weeks. This was no ordinary airplane. The captain, with charts and mock-ups, really put it across. And a lot of details began to add up. Of course, there were some trifles. 27 miles of electrical wiring, over 1,000 electronic tubes, hydraulics, compressors, accumulators, valves, and gauges without end. The observer's trainer was a duplicate of the bombing devices and the radar equipment which is actually located in the nose of the B-47. Radar, the all-seeing eye, penetrates the blackest night or the thickest clouds. The key to the bombing mechanism is in this small handle. On the final bomb run, it is the observer who flies the airplane. When the observer is ready to take over, he calls for second station. Then his skill and judgment imparted to this handle controls the airplane through the K system, which computes distance, time, speed, windage, drift, and all the other variables. The K system can pinpoint its target, although it may be invisible and 7 miles below. Pinpoint means not an entire city or even a building in that city, but a particular corner of that building. When the pilot hears the observer say, "Give me second station," that's it. Of course, we became thoroughly acquainted with the airplane. Hour after hour, flying with our pilot instructor took out the kinks. The time we'd spent in mock-ups and simulator missions made theory and practice dovetail. everything smoothed down. We'd sort of forgotten there was to be a day of reckoning. All pilots remember their first solo as something special. There's always a thrill of anticipation on any solo flight. I guess it's the challenge, the realization that the chips are down. It's final. You're on your own. Our instructor was there, prepared to sweat it out with his boys. Remember, he says, Lightfoot control radio will keep you in contact. Have a nice ride. And he heads for the airstrip to watch our first solo effort. Not long after, McConnell had made us masters of the 47. And our tour of duty at the school came to an end. We moved on to a squadron of the Strategic Air Command, a top duty assignment worldwide. We deployed 47s to and from overseas bases in Europe, Africa, and the Far East. Sometimes singly, sometimes in strength. Our training never stopped. It intensified. We were constantly on the alert. Strategic Air Command is vitally concerned with perfection in tactical missions. To achieve and maintain the fine edge of perfection, we fly simulated bombing missions against our own cities. Cities which bear a marked resemblance to other targets. A bombing mission begins in the briefing room, where all the details of your assignment are set before you. To be specific in our case, we were to meet a tanker airplane and refuel in the air at exactly midnight that night, and we were to be over our target at precisely 6 o'clock the next morning. Every time you go on a mission, in fact, every time you fly, you leave some solid citizens behind. They are the ground crew. The ground crew shoulders lots of responsibility for millions of dollars in equipment. But more to the point is their concern with human lives. Their skill and knowledge ride with us. In a jet, things happen fast. It's pretty important to know that everything's right. These are the boys that see to it. Without the ground crew, believe me, there would be no team. Control tower, this is Air Force 1956. Ready for takeoff, over.
Air Force 1956.
Cleared for takeoff.
Roger, coming up on power.
You're coming up. AC, this is the observer.
Your first heading is 120.
Roger, observer.
Turning to 120.
Observer from the AC. We're getting into some rough-looking weather.
How does it look on radar?
AC, this is the observer. We have a good picture. No thunderheads in sight.
Observer from AC. And we're breaking through on top. And Tom, SCS is not on board.
Roger, Cliff.
Cliff, take up a heading of
165.
Turning to 165.
Hour after hour, boring through the thin air of the stratosphere, on into the night, to a pinpoint rendezvous with a refueling airplane.
Tom, our scheduled refueling time is 2400. It's about 6 minutes to go.
Where's that tanker airplane?
hold your present heading. I have the tanker on radar.
You should have him in sight now.
Roger. I have the tanker in sight. Nice going, Tom. We're going in right on the button. Sam, get set for refueling contact.
Roger, Cliff. Refueling checklist complete. Slipway door open.
Get your credit card ready. She's all yours.
Okay, Sam. Watch our fuel distribution. I'm ready to contact.
For security reasons, aerial refueling contact in Strategic Air Command is accomplished in complete radio silence between tanker and bomber.
Contact made.
This delicate maneuver, calling for the utmost piloting skill, has become so routine with our Air Force that every 3½ minutes, around the clock, an aerial refueling is being accomplished somewhere in the world. refueled and ready to fly through the long night to the target. A sleeping city, 7 miles below. At dawn, exactly 6 o'clock, bombs away.
Cliff, we're almost at the initial point.
Roger.
Start your IV turn in 20 seconds to a heading of 045.
Roger, 20 seconds, turning to
045. Steady on 045. We're on autopilot.
Roger. I have the target on radar. Center the PDI and give me second station.
The PDI is centered. You have second station.
Roger. I have it.
Time to go, 180 seconds. This is the payoff. 3 men, a machine, the skills of thousands of people funnel into these few critical seconds over the target.
You have 30 seconds before bomb release.
seconds.
Vapor trails in the sky, a signature of the dedicated men of Strategic Air Command, perfecting the means whereby we here below may go our appointed ways, unmolested. The signature of those who perhaps are shaping destiny with their strange command, "Give me second station."
Strategic Air Command's annual bombing and navigation contest. SAC's rough, tough World Series of Bombing gets underway. This is a supreme test of navigation skill and bombing accuracy. During the 3 2,000-mile missions flown by each team, 12 target runs are made. 6 flown on radar, 3 visual runs, and 3 which may be either radar or visual. Takeoffs must be within 5 minutes of schedule. Time over target area, less than 2 minutes. Hits within inches of targets. The bombers will be in flight for 10 demanding hours on each of the 3 sorties. Navigators face incredible tests. They must put their aircraft over pinpoint targets and do it on a split-second schedule. Takeoff time for this team. Every kind of run which would occur under actual combat conditions is demanded of participating crews. The simulated bomb drops are scored by radar. Teams at the targets make radar photographs of each B-47 as it passes over. Though no bombs are dropped, these photographs reveal the accuracy of the crew's calculations. Every action required in a real bomb drop is performed in the simulated drops. At the live bomb drop site, umpires determine hit accuracy by measuring the sound waves of the explosion. To meet the stiff competition, only a bullseye will be good enough. It's a bullseye. The teams are all champions, and they're racking up scores so close, it's difficult for referees to measure the small margin of superiority between them. Who's nervous? Weary, pent-up crews come back to home base after 10 hours of continuous flight. Ground crews watch anxiously for their own planes. More than a simple contest, these competitions prove that the Strategic Air Command could swiftly and effectively retaliate against any aggressor.
The place, McConnell Air Force Base, Monday, 20 March. The time, 17:20 hours Greenwich. The subject, B-47, codenamed Roxy 3-4. The mission, train a SAC B-47 pilot in KC-135 air refueling operations. My name, Captain Mark Stanley. My job, instructor pilot.
Okay, that completes the taxiing checklist. All right, Roger. Ready for takeoff. McConnell Tower, this is Roxy 3-4, taking the runway.
Roger, 3-4. You're cleared for takeoff. Runway 36, right.
Okay, let's have the takeoff checklist. NATO arming switch, not applicable. Throttles, coming open. Stabilized at 80%. 80%. Engine estimate checked. Started, 6 flights out. Navigator, we're level at flight level 275, indicating 286 knots, heading 020 degrees.
Pilot, we're over the IP at this time. Range to ARCP 165. ETA 38 past the hour.
Roger, Navigator. Pilot from co-pilot, I'll try to contact the tanker. Waterhole 19, this is Roxy 3-4. Over.
Hello, Roxy 3-4. Waterhole 19er. Read you loud and clear. How me?
Loud and clear, Waterhole 19. Roxy 3-4 is estimating the ARCP at 38 past the hour. What is your position? Over.
Roxy 3-4, Waterhole 19er. Understand you estimate ARCP at 38. We are presently orbiting the ARCP at flight level 260. Altimeter setting 29092, and we're ready to start the rendezvous.
Navigator to co-pilot.
Go ahead, Nav.
I have a reading on the tanker, which I would like to confirm. Would you have Waterhole 19 go stand by for 10 seconds?
Roger, Nav. Waterhole 19, this is 3-4. Over.
3-4, this is 1-9er. Go ahead.
I have you at 150 miles. Request your navigator go standby, 10 seconds.
Roxy 3-4, this is Waterhole 19 navigator. Going standby 10 seconds now. 19, back on now.
I have a positive reading, co-pilot.
Roger, navigator. A Waterhole 19, this is Roxy 3-4. Have you positive? Do you have our beacon?
Roger 3-4, your beacon positive at 140 miles now.
Waterhole 19 has its positive identification, standing by for a 100-mile call. We will maintain an indicated airspeed of 266 knots until the descent. When we reach the observation position, we will stabilize, and I'll run through the procedure again as I briefed you yesterday. Roger.
Navigator to pilot, passing through 100 miles.
I understand, 100 miles. Waterhole 19, Roxy 3-4. Have you 100 miles at this time?
3-4, 1-9er. Roger. Understand you have us 100 miles.
Okay. Rendezvous and pre-descent checklist, please. Raj. Rendezvous equipment?
Turned on.
Altimeter to 9er 2. Hi, Raj. Pilot set.
Navigator set.
Descent range. Previously determined 80 miles. Gross weight 161,000 pounds. Contact speed 255 knots. Slipway anti-icing switch. It's on. ESP switch. And it's on. Remember, with KC-135s, we turn the ESP switch on. After contact is established, if it's determined that the receiver is power limited due to high gross weight or altitude, the ESP switch will be turned off. Directional damper switch. It says required. Sextant. Removed. Oxygen regulator diluter lever. This is a pilot, 100% oxygen. 100% here. Fuel panel. It's set. Master refuel switch. Coming to refuel. Fuel gauge control switch. It's not applicable. Refueling panel lights. Tested. Fuel quantity gauges. Checked. Tanks to be refueled. Selected, valves are open, all the main tanks in the bomb bay. Air refueling selector switch, going normal IFR system. Air refueling valve lever. Closed. We'll make the demonstration at dry contact. Circuit breakers, checked. Windshield wiper circuit breaker is pulled for dry contact.
Pilot, we're coming up on 90 miles at this time. Now.
Roger, nav. Air refueling lights, not applicable for day refueling. Radio to command. Acknowledge. Pilot to command.
Navigator to command.
Co-pilot's on command. All right, that completes the rendezvous and pre-descent checklist.
Pilot, this is Navigator. We're coming up on 80 miles now.
Waterhole 19, this is Roxy 3-4. Have you 80 miles. We're starting our descent to flight level 255.
Roger 3-4, this is 19 standing by for your 70-mile call.
Roger 19, we'll call you at 70. Pilot, start your descent now. Hold your rate of descent at 2,500 feet per minute, holding 310 knots or Mach 7/8, whichever is less. The level at 255. The tanker will be at 265, 1,000 feet above us. Hi, Roger.
Pilot from Navigator. Have a positive signal on Waterhole 19, coming up 70 miles. Ready? Ready? Now.
Waterhole 19, Roxy 3-4 has you 70 miles. Start your turn inbound.
Roger 3-4, starting turn to 078 degrees at this time.
Range is now 60 miles.
19, Roxy 3-4 has you 60 miles.
Roger, 60 miles.
Range is now 50 miles, co-pilot.
Waterhole 19, range 50 miles.
Roger, this is 19 Navigator, 50 miles. What is your altitude, 34?
19 from 34, we're coming through 260 to level at flight level 255.
40 miles, co-pilot.
19 from 34, we're now 40 miles.
Roger, Roxy 34. This is Waterhole 19 standing by.
Range is now 30 miles, co-pilot.
19, we have you at range 30 miles.
Roger, 34. Standing by for turn to refueling track. Altitude 265.
Roger, 19.
25 miles. Now.
25 miles, Waterhole 19.
24 miles.
19, 24 miles.
Roger, 34. Standing by for turn at 21 miles.
23.
19, 23 miles.
22.
19, 22 miles.
21 starts the turn.
Waterhole 19, 21 miles. Start your turn.
Roger, 34. Waterhole 19er turning to refueling track.
Waterhole 19, Roxy 34 has you 10 miles.
Roger, 34. This is 19. Do you have us visual?
Negative, 19. Not as yet. Co-pilot, let's start the preparation for contact checklist, please. Roger. A bomb sight retractable cover?
It's closed.
Automatic pilot? It's off. Trim seat and pedals? Adjusted.
Pilot, we're 7 miles now.
Waterhole 19, we're 7 miles.
Roger, 7 miles.
And Roxy 34 has Waterhole 19, tally-ho, dead ahead.
Roger, Waterhole 19er understands Roxy 34 has us visual at this time. Our navigator will continue to monitor and we'll turn you over to the boom operator when you're at 1/2 mile.
4 miles.
Okay, co-pilot, let's continue the checklist. Radio calls?
Initiated.
Raj. Slipway door. Open. Slipway anti-icing switch. It's off. Flaps. Not applicable with the KC-135. Unnecessary electrical equipment. Pilot. Off.
Off, navigator, and the range is now 3 miles.
Roger. Off in the rear. Waterhole 19, range now 3 miles. Fuel panel. And it's rechecked. Air refueling lights, not applicable for day refueling. Checklist complete. Ready for contact. Waterhole 19, Roxy 34, range 2 miles. Pilot, this is where you begin the deceleration schedule from 310 knots. Roger. Starting deceleration now.
One mile.
Waterhole 19, Roxy 34, range 1 mile. Passing through 280 knots and we're still decelerating.
1/2 mile now.
We're starting a climb to observation position and the airspeed is stabilizing at 255 knots. Okay, that was a smooth deceleration. Now remember, the observation position is 100 feet aft and slightly below the tanker.
Tanker ready.
Roger 19, we're in the observation position.
Roxy 34, we have a 40,000-pound offload for you.
Roger 34, understand 40,000 pounds. A Waterhole 19 boom operator will leave our air refueling valve closed for a dry contact demonstration of the refueling envelope limits. Then we'll open the valve for the student to take the offload.
Roger, 34. We'll stand by your call for wet contact.
Okay, pilot, I'll take the aircraft for the envelope demonstration. You follow me on the controls. Roger, you have the aircraft. Now, let's recall the important things we discussed yesterday as we close for contact. Roger. One of the things you hear a lot about is tanker downwash. As the receiver nears the tanker, it is coming into air disturbed by the tanker's wings, causing a slightly turbulent air pattern that flows down and aft and eventually dissipates. The observation position is so situated that when stabilized in it,
the receiver pilot may then retrim his aircraft in the same airflow pattern that he will encounter while in the refueling envelope. Now, as the receiver moves within approximately 10 to 20 feet of the tanker, the receiver's air pattern creates upwash, often referred to as bow wave. This upwash tends to push up on the tail of the tanker. If the tanker pilot makes a deliberate effort to hold the KC-135 tail down, the receiver pilot may have to momentarily increase power to continue forward. If, however, the KC-135 pilot allows his tail to ride the receiver's upwash, the receiver pilot will not encounter any noticeable effects. Now, let's move in for our initial contact, and I will demonstrate the refueling envelope limits. Waterhole 19 boom operator, this is Roxy 34, ready for contact.
Roger, Roxy 34. Forward 50 and up 10. Forward 20, up 5. Elevation looks good. Forward 10. Forward 5. Forward 2. Contact tanker.
Contact receiver. Okay, boom operator. I will demonstrate the envelope to my student. Please call when we approach the limits.
Roger.
Starting toward a left azimuth.
12 degrees. 15 degrees. Left azimuth, disconnect.
Disconnect receiver. Receiver ready for contact.
Tanker ready for contact. Contact tanker.
Contact receiver. Starting toward a right azimuth.
10 degrees. 15. Right azimuth, disconnect.
Disconnect receiver. Receiver ready for contact.
Tanker ready for contact. Contact tanker.
Starting toward an upper limit.
25 degrees. 23 degrees. Approaching upper limit. 20 degrees. Upper limit, disconnect.
Disconnect receiver. Receiver ready for contact.
Tanker ready for contact. Contact made.
Contact receiver. Starting toward the lower limit.
34 degrees. 38 degrees. Approaching the lower limit. 40 degrees. Lower limit, disconnect.
Disconnect receiver. Receiver ready for contact.
Tanker ready for contact. Contact tanker.
Contact receiver. Starting toward an outer limit.
12 feet. 15 feet. Approaching outer limit. Outer limit, disconnect.
All right, pilot. We're approximately 150 feet aft. You take the aircraft, move into the observation position, and then on in.
All right, Roger. I have the aircraft.
Waterhole 19, Roxy 34. That completes the demonstration. We're ready for contact, and we'd like the fuel at this time. Our air refueling valve lever is open. Windshield wiper circuit breaker is reset.
Roger, 3-4. Understand this one will be a wet contact. Forward 150 feet. Roxy 3-4, to rapid rate of closure. You are underrunning.
Reduce your power and maintain positive separation. Now, the reason we underran the tanker that time was because you didn't fully stabilize your aircraft in the observation position.
Roger. I'm stabilizing and trimming it now.
Roxy 3-4, are you ready for contact?
Roger, 19, moving in.
Back, 3-4, back out.
Okay, pilot, I have the aircraft. Let's drop back into the observation position.
All right, Roger. You have the aircraft.
That was a common mistake, pilot.
you had too rapid a rate of closure due to over-control on the throttles, and then tried to kill off your excess speed by climbing into the boom. But just relax and move in at a slow, even pace. And if you should overrun, never climb into the tanker. Okay, you take the aircraft and move on in. Roger. Waterhole 19, Roxy 34, ready for contact.
Waterhole 19, ready for contact. Down 5. Down 5. Stand by for contact. Contact tanker.
Contact receiver.
Down 7. You are too high. Down. Disconnect tanker. That was an upper limit disconnect.
Disconnect receiver. Well, you came in too high in the envelope. It's another common tendency in transitioning to the KC-135. Now come in slightly lower than you have in the previous refueling operations, and then climb gently into the contact position during the last few feet of closure. Roger, I understand. Waterhole 19, Roxy 34, ready for contact.
Roger, 3-4, tanker ready for contact. Forward 10.
Now remember, use a wide frame of visual reference. Fly formation on the whole airplane. Don't get a fixation on any single reference point.
Forward 5, up 5. You're in the green now. Good position. Steady, 3-4.
You're following the boom, pilot. Don't stare at it. Remember, fly formation on the tanker, not the boom. Let the boom operator put the boom into the receptacle. Roger.
Contact tanker.
Contact receiver.
Roxy 3-4, this is 19 co-pilot. Fuel pressure coming up. You're taking on fuel.
Roger, Waterhole 19. We have 4 tank valves open.
Rogers, 3-4.
Roxy 3-4, this is Waterhole 19er pilot. Accelerating to 280 knots.
Roger, Waterhole 19. 280 knots.
3-4, you're approaching a left azimuth. Right 5.
You're over-controlling on your rudder. Stop the oscillation first. Then make a separate correction to return to the nominal position. This rolling motion is caused when you get out of the tanker center line, and the downwash of the tanker causes one wing to have more lift than the other. Then, if you over-control, it immediately reacts in the same manner on the other wing as you cross back over the center line with resultant oscillating motion.
That's good platform, 3-4. Down 2, and you're in the green.
Roger, Waterhole 19. Our aft main tank is within 1,000 pounds of desired. Reduce fuel pressure so I can close the tank valve.
Stand by 1. Co-pilot from boom operator, shut down 1 pump.
Roger, pressure reduced.
Roxy 3-4, pressure reduced.
Roger, aft main valve is closed. Incidentally, pilot, it's important that the co-pilot monitor the fuel tank gauges so he can notify the tanker to reduce pressure as they are filled. Otherwise, we would have a pressure disconnect caused by too much fuel being pumped into the manifold and the receiver tanks not capable of accepting the fuel as rapidly as it is pumped from the tanker.
3-4, you are riding too high on the envelope. Down 5.
The fuel we have offloaded has moved our center of gravity further aft. As a result, you are over-controlling on the elevators, which is causing the aircraft to porpoise. Now, just relax. Use finer elevator pressures and concentrate on flying formation. Our gross weight has increased to a point where we are becoming power limited for this altitude. We'll ask the tanker to start a descent. Roger. Waterhole 19, this is Roxy 3-4.
Go ahead, 3-4.
At this time, begin descent profile. Request brief rate of descent.
Roger. Descending now.
Roxy 3-4, the co-pilot advises you have your 40,000-pound offload now.
Roger, Waterhole 19. Stand by for practice breakaway at my command.
Standing by.
Waterhole 19, practice, breakaway, breakaway, breakaway.
Tanker disconnect.
Receiver disconnect. 34, this is waterhole 19 boom operator. Confirm you have 1 wet contact, 7 dry contacts, offload 40,000 pounds, and a 69 rendezvous has been logged. Roger, 19. Roxy 34 grosses 189,000 pounds after 40,000 pound offload.
Roxy 34, this is Waterhole Pilot. We're going to clear the track by climbing 2,000 feet straight ahead, then turning left.
Roger, Waterhole 19. You're cleared to climb.
Roger. Climbing now.
Pilot, this is co-pilot standing by with the post-refueling checklist.
Well, that's it. An example of KC-135 in-flight refueling. You should know the procedures for in-flight refueling under all conditions. Learn them. Use them for your crew's safety as well as your own.